That's what we're doing. Generate during the day, I'm back on the back.
Welcome everyone to Thursday, February 13th meeting of the Rotary Club of Milledgeville. This meeting is in order. Please silence your cell phones as Michelle Dixon comes forward and joins us in service as Rotarian of the Day. Michelle?
Hello, everybody. Please bow your heads. We ask that you guide and direct our club, its leaders, and our actions. Grant that each of us may feel our responsibility to Rotary, to our community, to our country, and indeed to all countries and people. Bless our fellowship today and bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies. In your service, amen.
Amen.
Pledge.
Congratulations to the flag, United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation.
And four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First,
Is it true?
second,
It's
Very concerned.
third,
Ever friendships.
fourth,
The additional to all concern.
those
And-
like
Follow.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Don't go way too fast. Thanks everyone for coming out today. Please remember the cart buckets on your tables and contribute when you can. And Michelle, join us for a guest introduction and the 50 raffle. Did what? Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody, I am going to let our guests pull the ticket since I bought the ticket. I don't hear anything if they keep pulling my ticket. Try to make it back to our cart. Okay, ticket ending in 6031.
6031.
6031.
All right.
Okay. Please, see if you're gonna be the winner today. Yep, you are. Okay. Start your card. Up. 10 of hearts.
All right. Thanks, Greg. All right, and thanks, Michelle. Okay, everyone. Do we have any prayer requests today?
I know a lot of people are affected by the GMT student that was killed in a tragic accident, so just pray for that and all their friends.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And if you will, please say a prayer for fellow Rotarian Herschel Scott and his family. He lost his sweet mom recently, and her service was yesterday. So we're all thinking about y'all, and just wanted you to know. All right. Community announcements. You have the bulletin on the table, so I won't read it to you, but over here on the left side, you'll see what's going on. And then also on your tables is a one-page flyer about a We Love Books book plate labeling event that we're having tomorrow as a service project. It will be at Responsive Technology Partners office from 5 to 6 p.m. Jay, can you tell us a little bit more about how the books came to be out there and what we're working on with this?
Just everybody being at the right place at the right time. Aaron had announced it at our meeting in passing, but like a lot of other things. Ironically, my wife was one of the library volunteers that was involved in it, and he called me from the book sale and said, "Are you interested in buying any books for Rotary?" And I said, "Well, sure." So I went down there, but then I thought about it. I called Tamara, and Tamara, of course, got the word out to everybody. And the next thing you know, the club is buying 62 cases of books, plus the ones that some of our individual members purchase as well. All in all, over 70 cases of books. And if you just conservatively think about that, and if you just said each book is worth 10 bucks a piece and there's 50, that roughly comes out to around $35,000. Now, to be honest, those books are probably 20, 25, 30 bucks. So you can do the math from there. But that's the impact we had through one email that Tamara made. So for those of us that participated one way or the other, good job, good job. And we haven't quite decided. Originally, we were thinking it was going to go for the joint project that we're doing for Kendall, for their library, but there are so many books. I mean, if you go to Tamara's office, it's stacked. It's like 70 things. So be real proud of what we did. Okay.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you and your wife for your help. They work with the Friends of Mary Vincent Library. And as he mentioned, they had both children's and adults books, but we were focusing on the kids for our supportive literacy. And they were $10 a box, and there were about 50 books in each one of those boxes. So we got everything that they had boxed up and ready to go. And so we're going to be good with several literacy projects coming up. So thank you all for your support with that and helping make that quick decision to get those books taken care of. Before we go on, is there any club reporting, any club business anyone has, any of the chairs, anybody have anything? All right. Well, we have two special guests today. It's my honor to introduce Kathy Cox, the GCSU's president, who's joining us today in place of Mark. Kathy, you should join us more often. We love having you here. So why don't you come up and introduce our speaker today, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara, and good afternoon, everybody. I am pinch hitting for my husband today. Mark sends his regards to all of you and especially to our speaker. Mark goes and invites Tim to be our speaker and then leaves town and asked me to do the cleanup. But Mark had to be in Savannah today to teach a continuing ed program in mediation. So he couldn't make other arrangements, but I was more than happy to introduce a great friend of mine and Mark's today, and I'm delighted that we could have him here today. Tim Golden is our speaker today. Tim was reelected this past Monday to his third five-year term as the member of the Georgia DOT board for the 8th Congressional District. And as you all know, Baldwin County is now the uppermost county in the 8th Congressional District. So this is a relatively new county to Tim's district, but we are really, really lucky to have Tim as our DOT board member now. He has 28 other counties in the district that go all the way from Baldwin County down to his hometown of Valdosta. So that is the big swath of territory he has to cover in his DOT board district. I have had the pleasure of knowing Tim for more than 30-something years and counting. I count him as a very good friend. We both served together in the Georgia House of Representatives, with Tim representing his home area of Valdosta when I represented my home area of Bainbridge and counties in Southwest Georgia. So we were part of the South Georgia Mafia in the House of Representatives. My dad even knew Tim before I did because my dad preceded me in the legislature, and Tim really cut his teeth in politics by working as a congressional aide for former Congressman Charles Hatcher. Some of you might remember he was the member of Congress for the 2nd Congressional District, which represented most of all of Southwest Georgia for more than a decade, mostly in the 1980s and into the early 1990s. Tim served 8 years in the Georgia House and then decided to fall from grace and go across the aisle and get elected to the Georgia Senate, as us House members like to say. He served another 16 years in the Georgia Senate before he retired from the General Assembly in 2014 And I remember him saying to me he was done with politics. And then the next year he got elected to the DOT board in 2015. So this represents 10 years of service now for Tim on the board of the Department of Transportation. Tim is a graduate of Valdosta State University. I think he's now doing some adjunct teaching there as well. His wife, Ellen, is also a good friend of mine. She is a judge of the state court of Lowndes County and a great jurist in her own right. They have one son, Seth. I've been calling Tim Seth all day because I almost claim Seth as my own son. If I had a son, it would be Seth Golden because I love his son, Seth, who was one of my students actually while I was the dean at Mercer Law School. Seth came to law school and became not just my student at Mercer Law, but my #1 dog sitter and go-to help for anything I needed. I love his son. And you might be interested to know, if you don't, his son Seth just recently became engaged to a beautiful Milledgeville girl, Megan Pittman. And so Seth will be part of the Milledgeville family by this fall when he and Megan, Suzanne Pittman Brown's daughter, get married this fall. So you'll be seeing more of Tim and Ellen and Seth and all of them related to the Pittman family. Those are the facts about Tim Golden, but what you really won't find written in his bio, and that what I really want you to know about Tim is that he is the very best kind of public servant you are ever going to find in the state of Georgia. He does not play politics. He's been elected as a Democrat. He's been elected as a Republican. He does not throw political bombs around at people. He gets along with everybody. That's why he keeps getting reelected to a board that really is not partisan like the DOT board. He gets along with everybody. He works hard every day to do whatever Georgians need to maneuver through government and whatever problems they might have with government. I admire him more than I can tell you. He is just salt of the earth, good people, and really the best of public servants in Georgia. I'm so pleased that he is now representing us on the DOT board. He's got a good notebook to take all of your wish list for DOT projects. I have a long list myself, but please join me in welcoming today as our speaker, Tim Golden.
I didn't know who Kathy was talking about. Thank you, Kathy, so much. I laughed when she met me in the parking lot and said, Mark's not going to be here. I'm introducing you. And I said, good. I'd rather have you than Mark. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here. And Kathy, thank you for the kind remarks. I am getting used to Milledgeville very quickly because it is new to my district. But having a son marrying a girl from here, I've gotten to know Milledgeville very, very quickly. Right, Wendell?
Yes, sir.
We were here not too long ago at a reception here. So somebody was kidding me the other day, said, how many times have you been to Milledgeville? And I said, I think 4. Or in just the last year. I said, but 2 of them were personal. And 2 of them were DOT business. But I'm glad to be back. Kathy, thank you. Very proud of this university. And I can tell you, you have one of the best presidents, if not the best president in the university system. And I say that with all here in the room with me. That's the president of Valdosta State, where I'm an alum and teach some. But Kathy's just a dynamite. I knew she would be good. We were together in the house in the 1990s. I hate to date myself, but that was back in the Zell Miller days. And I've known Kathy a long time. Like she said, I knew Father Walter, and it's just a great family. We had a good time in the 1990s, and we did some good stuff. Something called Hope Scholarships. It was the first vote I ever took was lottery. And I look at it now in amazement how good that program's been. And in fact, it's still here. It tells you we did something right with pre-K and with Hope. But I am here to not talk about the university system or talk about anything else, but talk about GDOT. And I'm very Very proud to have Millersville in the district. I'm getting to know y'all's community a little bit. It's, I do have 29 counties, which makes it very difficult. I have a lot of real estate to cover. But I will tell you a little bit about the board and the way it operates in a second, but understand I've got the I-75 district, what I call it. I go from Valdosta to Forsyth. It's a lot of territory. Then I go way over to Moultrie, and then I go over to Douglas, and I come all the way up to Millersville. So it's a lot of territory, but it's a great district. But let me just give you a little history of DOT real quickly, where you understand what I do as a board member. The State Transportation Board was actually formed in 1966. A guy named Carl Sanders was governor from Augusta. He was decided he wanted to change the way the politics of DOT worked. There's been some shenanigans, I'll leave it at that, in the 40s and the 50s. And when Sanders got elected in the 60s, he decided that he's going to do something different. So he introduced the concept of the State Transportation Board as a constitutional amendment. It was ratified in 1966. And since that time, we have operated the Department of Transportation by congressional districts, by a state board. There used to be, 8 or 9 members, but as we grew to 14 districts, 14 congressional districts, we have 14 members. And we are in the Constitution of Georgia since 66. Our power is derived from the fact the governor does not appoint us. I'm elected by state senators and state house members by caucus. That's me in the Senate 8 or 9 days ago, getting reelected to a 3rd term. I know how to run a campaign because I've been unopposed all 3 terms. Being a former member helps. There are 14 members of the board. I think 5 are former legislators, used to be like 10. There's more business people, more non-legislators now than ever before, probably. So I'm sort of a minority voice, I guess, being a member of the legislature, being on the board. But I did not really seek out this seat, by the way. The board member was my roommate, Jay Shaw, died right as I got out of the Senate. He wanted me to take his seat. He knew he was dying, so how do I say no? I really did not want to do this. And you look at me now, I'm just begging for another term. It's been the most fun I've ever had in my life. It's been a great opportunity. But the board really operates uniquely because we're not appointed by the governor. We're the only elected board. So really, the governor has no influence over our board. Now, having said that, we'd be fools to snub our nose at the governor because he sets the budget. But I do want to say this real quickly, though. Nathan Deal was a great friend of our department. And Brian Kemp's been as good, if not better, than Nathan Deal. We've been very fortunate as a board to have 2 very supportive governors and a very supportive legislature. 2015, they passed a $1 billion bill that amounted to $1 billion increase for DOT. My timing was immaculate to get there and have some money to spend. So, but there are 14 members of the board. We select the commissioner, not the governor. It's unique. Russell McMurray is our commissioner. He's been commissioner 10 years today, February. 10 years as our commissioner. He was basically there when I got on the board. Russell, I got on 3 months later. He has been probably the best commissioner we've ever had. If you look at our roads, we've always had good roads. But if you look where we are right now as a state, we're doing something right at GDOT. Russell McMurray is a lot of the reason. But he serves at the pleasure of the board. He's funny, he tells everybody, he says, I've got 14 bosses because there's 14 board members. I always laugh and said, well, what do you complain about? I got 28. So I've got 28 senators and reps. So it's a great system of checks and balances. But that's enough about the history of the board. Just wanted y'all to know how we operate. It's funny, a lot of people don't know whether to call you board member. Some of them call me commissioner, which I laugh because I'm not. My wife calls me GDOT man. I do laugh. I tell you this, Kathy, I'm not teaching this semester, but I do occasionally teach a course at Ball State, 'cause I enjoy doing that, but, some of the students would call me Dr. Golden. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have a JD degree. I don't even have a master's, but I'm teaching under a special experience, right? But anyway, it's funny. My wife said, they call you Dr. Golden, you correct them? I said, what are you, crazy? I won't tell y'all what PhD stands for under her definition. But it's been fun being on this board. But let me before I open up for questions, I'm try and do this quick. Well, maybe there'll be some questions. But I do want to bring up a couple of things. I want to talk about T-Splosh. I want to talk about the hurricane. And then I'm going to talk about some local projects or projects I'm working on in the 8th district. And I'll open it up for question and answers. Let me first talk. I almost wanted to show a video of the hurricanes. You got an idea of Valdosta. Everybody knows where Valdosta is, right? The very bottom of this district, the last place you go through going to Florida. It's what people know us as. We've had 2 hurricanes, a tropical storm, flood, and a snowstorm in 18 months. Crazy, isn't it? The hurricane, I bring all that up to say this. Helene did so much damage. It was incredible. I know y'all got a little bit of it, but I think y'all were more to the west, most to the east. Y'all know the damage. I mean, Augusta was horrible. You go from Valdosta, take that path all the way up. The destruction is unbelievable. I don't know how many of y'all driven through there and looked, but the damage to the forest and timber and the forest industry is horrible. I spent a lot of my legislative time working on pulp and paper projects, so it's upsetting to me to drive through and look at the farmland and look at the damage. But I'm proud of the way GDOT handled the response. And I'm very proud of this state. I will tell you, the Hurricane Helene, my wife and I and my dog, we do share a commonality. We have dogs. We love Labradors. I told Kathy bring Daisy today, and she didn't. My dog, believe it or not, its name is a yellow lab. The name is Storm. And I am threatening that dog every day with changing his name. We didn't name it. We actually got a sporting kennel. He was already named Storm, but I've been thinking about changing it to Ike for Eisenhower. The interstate system. But anyway, the Helene, the damage it did through our community, it was scary. We rode out a Category 3 hurricane in Valdosta as they get all the way up through. I won't do that again. I think I will leave. It was scary. Idea was Category 2, followed by Helene Category 3. If you look at the Big Bend area, Kathy knows it well from Bainbridge, but that Big Bend area is 150-mile shot straight to Valdosta. And the hurricane didn't do it once, did it twice. I hope the third time is not the charm, because I don't want to see another hurricane. But I am very proud of GDOT's response to that. I have spent a lot of my last 12 months dealing with storm damage. So some of the projects, some of my knowledge, understand the last 12 months have been very interesting as we try to respond to what's been a horrific event for this state. Let me mention T-Splosh. Y'all voted in my area. Most of my counties are in the regional T-Splosh. But let me tell y'all something about it. Y'all, I was so happy to see y'all voted that thing in big time. It's like 75-25% wise approved it. Y'all will be so happy about T-Splosh because it's going to give you the opportunity to do so much more with transportation. If you're going to find out, GDOT is a great partner. We love, the commissioner loves, when you look at communities, it's skin in the game. It really helps us to maximize our dollars. Just as we maximize federal dollars, we can maximize state dollars and max local and do more. So y'all will be very pleased with T-Splosh. I believe it's been 2 years now, 3 years. Yeah, it's been very new. So I think y'all going to be well served by T-Splosh. But let me mention, I've got to talk about one project in particular, because it tickled me that, Kathy, when she was dean of the Commercial Law School, asked for maps. Now, I thought this is the only dean of any law school in the country wanting transportation maps for her school. But if you went into law school, and after I gave her those maps, I couldn't believe it. One day I stopped by to visit and see my son, who was a student, Seth was a student at law school when Kathy was the dean. And she had maps all over of that I-16, I-75 project. Let me tell you about some good news about the 1675 project. Is we have pushed up the finish date by a year or two. Hopefully it won't be 2030, it might be 2029, finishing that project. Give you an idea how long they take. Project started in 2017. One of the first projects I really got involved in. This is some of what the DOT board member does, other than voting for the commissioner, selecting the commissioner. We also set policy and we set projects, we set budget, we do all these kind of things. So it's sort of a hands-on, the board member is a hands-on person that deals with DOT. But when I first got on the board, it was to tell you how much Robert Rickett was mayor. Robert served in the House with me. I hadn't been on the board 2 minutes, I don't think, and I got a phone call from Robert saying, "We need you to come to Macon. You got to come to Macon." Next thing I know, I was in Macon, and they were pushing the 7516 project. That project's actually in Congressional District 2. But I was one half of the project with Robert and people like Kathy Cox and others wanting me in the Chamber of Commerce, wanting me to be involved in that project. That is one I'm so proud of. And I know it's been a nightmare. It's been horrible for y'all to have to deal with it. And I drive through it a lot just because I want to look at it. But living there every day, I know it's been a pain. Once it's done, it's already a huge improvement. Huge improvement. And any of y'all remember what it was like before that? Remember how bad it was? Yes. When I first met, we had lunch. It was with George Greer, a lawyer, the general at Warner Robins, and 2 others from the chamber. We had lunch right after I got on the board to talk about that project. And I laughed when I said, they said, "Do you know about it?" And I said, "I know about it. I've been to that chamber a lot." When you get back out and you try to get on 16, you got to be Fireball Roberts to getting on that like the Indianapolis 500. The general, I thought, was going to fall out of his chair. He was an older gentleman. He said, "I hadn't heard Fireball Roberts' name, and I can't tell you when." That's the only race I know. I'm a baseball person. But anyway, that's a project I'm very proud of. We pushed the date up. Brian Kemp gave us $1.5 billion last year for DOT, in addition to our budget. Our budget's somewhere between 4 and 5 billion. Most of that state and federal. But he gave us 1.5 billion on top of it. We put roughly 100 million towards that project, which should push up the completion date a year or two, hopefully. But we've gone through, I think we had 7 phases and we're in phase 5 now, or fixing to be. So it's close. So I'm very proud of that. Just down in my area, we put in 40 million to finish Highway 133, the segment from Valdosta to Moultrie to Albany. It's in my district and some in 2nd district. But having said that, those are just some of the things we do. We get involved in you'd be surprised the things we get involved in, and all kind of projects we can promote, things we work on. But I'm trying to make sure, I think I'm pretty good on time. So I was trying to think, other than that, I'm going to open it up to questions, but let me encourage you to go to the GDOT website though. All you gotta do is just Google and put in GDOT and Google that, and it'll come up and it'll show you a list of different things. You can push on projects and it'll show you some of the projects we have going. And this is fascinating. I can't tell you how hard it is to try to remember all of these projects, but we have the MMIP program, which is about 11 different projects we started, 8 years ago. It's multi-billion-dollar projects. 20 and 285 is one of them. I know y'all use 20 going in. That's one of those MIP programs. It is probably $10 billion in programs. So I encourage you to go there. It has I-1675 on it. It has I-16, I-95. Why I'm mentioning that, those two projects tie into something called the Georgia Ports. If you want to know why we're doing those, I mean, we're doing it for safety. We're doing it for a lot of reasons, but our mission is to move people and products and move both safely. That's our primary mission. Let me tell you something too, the ports are growing so rapidly. We're now the #1 destination for autos. We just got that designation. The Georgia ports, we were there, I can't remember time runs together, maybe 5 months ago. Toured the ports, we held our board meeting there, and they're just really kicking it. It's amazing, that port and what they're doing. But the 1695 project, rail projects, the 1675 all plays into it. We also, by the way, one project you'll look at, commercial vehicle lanes. We're looking at this to be first in the nation. Some of this is because of ports. Truck traffic is so bad, not just on 16, but on 75 truck traffic. Horrible. We're looking at a multi-billion-dollar one way, it needs to be two ways, but going from basically Macon to Henry County, just a 2 lanes just for trucks only, commercial vehicles. And I, be honest with you, I've had some mayors along that route I've met with, and they're, you really gonna do this? So I go to the commission and say, are we gonna really do this? And he says, we're going to do it. So we'll see. I will say this too, I don't know how many of y'all drive 75 and get to Henry County and stop, or how many of y'all go into Atlanta, going in or leaving, you're wanting to get in the express lanes and it's closed, right? At least from where I'm coming from in South Georgia. When I go up for the board meetings like next week, when I go to Atlanta, it'll be closed going in and be closed when I come out. It's aggravating. We're looking at, and I think it's going to happen, we're going to make it 24/7 both ways. We're going to work on that. Now, somebody asked me the other day, said, that's great. When will it happen? I said, I don't know if I'll be alive. But I hope we can do that. Express lanes are great. One last thing I have to say, I think y'all can tell I enjoy this job. It's fun. It's such a great learning experience. It's exciting to do this. But one meeting about maybe 6 or 8 months ago, Meg Purple was our chief engineer, and she's a great lady. That's the toughest job probably at GDOT. Russell McMurray, our commissioner, used to have it. That's the chief engineer. Meg is a Vanderbilt grad, master's in Georgia Tech. She's a very bright lady, sharp as tough as nails. But she presented a program, and one of them was the 285 program, and it was like 1.1 billion or something. It was the biggest one project that we had ever done in the history of GDOT. That amount of money. 10 minutes later, she proposed a 4.6 billion that became the largest one. And that's the express lanes. It's about 4.6 billion for the 400 express lanes. And that's a payback where we get back like 2 billion. And it's a private partnership, public-private partnership. Well, I think a Spanish firm won the bid, if I remember. It's going to build that and then pay us back money. It's going to be interesting. Another first in the nation. One reason I'm a fan of Russell McMurray, we're the first in a lot of things in Georgia now at transportation because we have a very, very good commissioner. And so when y'all see, by the way, that we pay him, he's one of the top 10 paid people in Georgia. The reason he's getting paid so much is the board, we want to keep him. We want to keep him. People are trying to steal him from us. But we're trying our best to keep Russell. I told him the other day that I've got 5 more years. He better give me 5 more years. So, he's the type person, I tell him, sort of like John Smokes. You could have paid Smokes $1, or you could have paid him $100 million. It didn't matter. He was going to get on that mound and he was going to win. I believe that's Russell. He's got that same spirit. He doesn't do it for money. He does it because he's motivated. He told me the other day, he said, you know, I'm the third longest serving under the new transportation board, third longest serving commissioner. I'm a historian. I said, you're wrong. He said, no, I'm not. I said, you're longer than Shack now. Wayne Shackelford was under Zell Miller. And Shack was a very good commissioner, one of the best. I think Russell's better than Shack. That's high praise. Tom Moreland's the longest serving. Moreland wasn't bad. Moreland was just cantankerous. But Tom Moreland was a good commissioner. Shack was a really good commissioner. Russell's been a great commissioner. And I can say that, no, he's going to keep it. It won't go to his head. I do remind him if it did, we can deal with it. Having said all that, look, I'm going to tell you something. I'm excited to be in Millersville. This town reminds me of Valdosta, and I love it. It's got a great university. It's got good people in this town. I'm very happy my son's marrying a girl from Millersville. It's going to give me even more incentive to come up here and be with y'all. But with that, I think I'm probably good on time for, I don't want to run overtime, then y'all won't want me back. What questions can I try to answer?
So what do you hear about the Follow Line Freeway becoming an interstate?
Now, is that the 14 project? We come back going to Texas?
Yes.
I've had some people talk to me, not anything recently. I know there's some federal interest. Kathy and I were talking about it. It's a possibility that could happen at some point. You can make a military argument for it, probably moving military vehicles. And, yeah, personally, I'm for any kind of improvement like that. But again, that's long range, and I don't have anything other than that. There was a young man, I'm trying to remember his name, that was, gosh, I don't know, and he was very impressive. I loved the history he had on it. And he sent me all kind of stuff on it, but that's been 2 or 3 years ago. But we have looked at it, we have talked about it. But that's way off in the future. We got so much going on right now, I don't even know if we could entertain anything else at the moment.
I mean, with the state budget set up for just regular projects and regular maintenance and whatever going on with the amount of storms we've had in the last recent and how does that affect the budget? How do y'all, where's that money coming from? And
Good question. Great question. It's they're backfilling us right now like 200 million just from storm. The other 98 million was from the suspending of the tax. You know, we get gas tax money, which is sort of funny. Me being on the interstate 75 and 16, I feel like a convenience store advocate. The Buc-ee's in Houston County, we got a Buc-ee's looking at Humble Road and Monroe, that's my district, both of them. One of my best friends I play golf with owned property. We put a QT on some property down in Valdosta. They had Friendly Express, TA, all of them, Wawa. I'm trying to get as many of them as I can to locate on 75 and 16 because they pump a lot of gas and that gives us a lot of money. But now, as far as the storm, though, it wreaked havoc on our budget. The good news is Brian Kemp's recognized that. Brian's, I served in the Senate with Brian, by the way, so I've known him a long time. Brian's a good guy, and he's been very, very good to backfill our budget. But the hurricane really hit us hard. The snowstorm, you know, salting roads and de-icing those roads expensive. Gosh, it's just been, I should have brought the video. I did a video for the regional commission. I speak to their annual meeting every year, and I did a video what DOT did for me. And it really gave a good picture of the damage and why nobody's gonna have heartburn giving us the money to fill it back. We gosh, I can't remember all the traffic lights, several thousands just gone. I pulled out of my neighborhood and drove up the first major intersection and just stopped, and it's weird. There were no lights. I mean, they weren't even on the ground, they were gone. I mean, it was all through the city. There was one picture in Valdosta, and this could be in any community, there was a utility pole, and then y'all see it, there was a utility pole, and the very, very top was a stop sign wedged into it. Think about it, just wedged into it. When that slide came up, the order, it was like 300 people there, and the sound and the order, oh, it was just unbelievable. It tells you, and I made the point, and the reason I used it was, think about Georgia Power, the EMCs, EOT workers, want to know why they don't go out in the weather when it's, when the winds are 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. That's why. That stop sign was up in the top of the utility pole and wedged in it. Unbelievable, the pictures. You had a question?
The port traffic is coming through Milledgeville. And it seems to be bottlenecking here. I've seen white containers all day long, just right after the, we were supposed to have a bypass. There was one that was planned that never came through because the city and the county could not agree to the location. And it looks like that as the port continues to develop, we will continue to have more and more port traffic, including, you know, heavy equipment that's coming from overseas and it's going into Atlanta or up to Athens. Or is there anything that can be done to put us on a list for a bypass to bypass our bypass?
Let me tell you, I know something about the truck bypass. So Valdosta's been wanting one for about 50 years, I think. And right when I got on the board, actually the Superior Court judge, who's not there now, it's not Mac McLean, it was another judge, I won't say who, but he asked me to go to lunch. I'd just gotten on the board, and I was sitting downtown, and my car was sitting out on the curb, and about that time, 3 big semi trucks came around that corner, and I accused him of doing it on purpose. But no, actually, he was advocating for me to go bypass in Valdosta. And we've come a long ways in the 10 years I've been on the board getting there. Now, whether I see it in my lifetime, I don't know. I say all that to say it's difficult getting them done. In our case, we're trying to move a federal highway. I don't know how many of y'all deal with the federal government. They're slow, and we don't have to be dependent on them. The people in the county have always agreed to take over the maintenance of the road when we give it to them. So that's one of the commitments you'd have to have. But I say all of that to say this, as environmentals, all kinds of engineering studies, there's so many moving parts. But we're at the point right now where we get into that process of sending out letters right now to the landowner. I know that because I've had a bunch of calls saying, your name's at the bottom of it, CCU and all. And I said, yeah, this is just a study of where we're trying to find the route that will work. And it's hard. Once you have growth to do it, it's really hard. So I say all that, we can get that process started here, though, to look to see, because Kathy's already mentioned it to me. And I said, I will look into that and see what we have to do to get the process started. I will say this too, I mentioned T-Splosh, the TIA, we put 10 million. I say had a little bit to do with getting 10 million put in it. From the T-Splosh and Valdosta, 8 million is GDOT money, 2 million to be local T-Splosh. That's a pretty generous match. The TIA deal is great because GDOT put in 200 million in our regional T-Splosh this year. And the locals put in about 2/3, third state. That's an incentive to vote for it. But we got 10 million for the truck bypass. So maybe we'll get it done in Valdosta. I hope I live long enough to see it. But it's hard to get it done. And I don't know, I'd have to look at y'all's route. The route we've got, you do have some environmental concerns. You do have railroad concern. You do have a bridging concern. So it get expensive and difficult to find the right route. One of the routes they wanted to go through was right through a minority neighborhood. It's like building a Berlin Wall in Valdosta. You do that. So we're trying to find a better route. I hope that answers your question, but we can get that lengthy process started. And that's one of the things I can do, initiate that study, at least get them to start looking at it. Now, convincing them to do it and finding the money, et cetera, is difficult. And the environmentals are horrible, if y'all didn't know that. I've run up against, I've learned real quickly, you don't want to have to redo the environmentals because it'll delay a project. And if you delay a project, I'm not talking about like a day or two or a month or two, I'm talking about years. Our chief engineer called me one day on a project, and a lot of people give me static over a roundabout in Valdosta. She said, we got a month to decide. If you don't say go on this project, it's gonna be delayed. And I knew that meant years, so I said, go. Let's do it. People get mad, they get mad with me. But let's just do it. So environmentals and all of this, dicey too. I will say there was a roundabout that's gonna be letting, and I believe that for the club, but it's a $5 million roundabout coming in Millersville. I don't know how many roundabouts y'all have here, but they are a becoming thing. And I bring it all up to say is, next month board meeting, we're letting 2 big roundabouts in Valdosta at 5 points. And if y'all been there, it's a mess. So we're gonna have not 1 roundabout, but 2. And my wife's sister calls them the circle of death. And my wife says those roundabouts are gonna be the end of your GDOT career, GDOT man. Circle of death. And I love it. Roundabouts are great to keep traffic moving. And, but y'all got some coming in Millersville if you don't already have them. So when y'all drive around that roundabout, think about it. You know what things about me. Any other questions? I don't know. I think I probably about run my time, but I'll stay afterwards. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Right, and we'd like to present you with a speaker pen and have you use it to sign this bookplate. This is part of our Jill's Books collection that's in the public library. It encourages childhood literacy.
Oh, great. Great. That's awesome. Thank you. I'll sit down and.
You have a seat on the floor, your sign, if that's okay. Have a quick hat. See.
Transportation, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Today's name. Here, sign it, please.
Good job.
Okay, next week's program is the annual Star Student Baldwin County Student Teacher Achievement Recognition Program sponsored by the Mildred Baldwin Chamber of Commerce. So please come out and join us for that. Kathy Cox, thank you again for coming and being marked double today. You did an excellent job. Tim Golden, thank you so much for presenting the program today. We enjoyed having you. All right, until next Thursday, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Excellent presentation. Yes, sir. Is, y'all follow that program. That's thing, I understand.